at home, it is the greatest global challenge in a generation. And as the countries work to secure their borders and stop the further spread of this deadly virus, we appreciate that an unprecedented number of UK travellers are trying to get home. And we're not talking a few hundred or even a few thousands, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people travelling around the world. So with that in mind, on the 17th of March, we advised people against all non-essential travel around the world. And since the 23rd of March, we've advised that all UK residents who are currently travelling abroad should return home. Hundreds of thousands have already done so. But many travellers haven't yet managed to get back home, from young backpackers to retired couples on cruises. And we appreciate the difficult predicament that they find themselves in. We also recognise the anxiety of families here in the UK who are concerned to get their loved ones home. It's a worrying time for all of those who've been affected. And I want to assure them that this government, their government, is working around the clock to support, advise, and to help British travellers get home. I've spoken to more than 20 foreign ministers around the world in the last week or so to support this effort to keep airports and ports open and to facilitate access to them by British travellers. Over the weekend, I spoke to foreign ministers from Australia, New Zealand, India, and Brazil, and Pakistan. And I also spoke to the Ethiopian Prime Minister, and in all of those cases urged them to work with us to keep commercial routes flying. Given the scale and the complexity of this challenge, it inevitably requires a team effort. So the Foreign Office is working with other governments. There's a particular focus on transit hubs. And we're also working with the airlines to keep as many flights running as possible. We've got a lot more to do, but we've already helped hundreds of thousands of Britons get home. The first priority has been to keep as many commercial flights running as we can. And that's based on just purely the scale and the number of people who want to come home. And as a result of those efforts and the cooperation we received from the Spanish government, we've enabled an estimated 150,000 UK nationals to get back from Spain. On other commercial routes that have come under pressure, we've worked with partner governments and airlines to get back 8,500 UK travellers from Morocco, around 5,000 UK nationals from Cyprus. That gives you a sense of the scale of the challenge and the numbers of British travellers abroad. Now, in circumstances where commercial flights can't operate, we've already chartered flights which proved necessary to return 1,400 UK nationals on flights, for example, from China at the outset of this crisis, and more recently from Peru. We've not faced challenges like this in getting people home from abroad on this scale in recent memory. Airports are closing down or preventing airlines from operating on a commercial basis. Local authorities have placed restrictions on movement that prevent people from getting to the airport. And the critical transit hubs that we rely on for long-haul flights are also shutting down or in some cases limiting their flights. Some of these restrictions have been done with very little notice, some with no notice at all, which makes it very difficult to respond. So international collaboration is absolutely vital. As I said, it's a team effort and it involves government working with other governments, but also working with the airlines. So with that in mind, I can today announce a new arrangement between the government and airlines to fly home tens of thousands of stranded British travellers where commercial flights are no longer possible. Partner airlines include British Airways, Virgin, EasyJet, Jet2 and Titan, and this list can be expanded. Under the arrangements that we are putting in place, we will target flights from a range of priority countries starting this week. And let me explain a little bit about how this will work in practice. Where commercial routes remain an option, airlines will be responsible for getting passengers home. That means offering alternative flights at little to no cost where routes have been cancelled. And it means allowing passengers to change tickets, including between carriers. So for those still in those countries where commercial options are still available, don't wait. Don't run the risk of getting stranded. The airlines are standing by to help you. Please book your tickets as soon as possible. Where commercial flights are no longer running, the government will provide the necessary financial support for special charter flights to bring UK nationals back home. Once special charter flights have been arranged, we will promote them through the government's travel advice and by the British Embassy or High Commission in the relevant country. British travellers who want a seat on those flights will book and pay directly through a dedicated travel management company. We've designated £75 million to support those flights and the airlines in order to keep the costs down and affordable for those seeking to return to the UK. And in arranging these flights, our priority will be the most vulnerable, including the elderly or those with particularly pressing medical needs, and also looking in particular at countries where we've got large numbers of UK tourists struggling to get home. UK travellers, if they haven't already done so, should check the Foreign Office travel advice, and that advice is under constant review, and it can help travellers find out more details about how to access the flights under this arrangement. They should also follow the social media of the UK Embassy or High Commission in the country where they find themselves, so that they can be directed to accurate, real-time information from the local authorities. For any questions that can't be answered in that travel advice, or by the UK embassies or High Commission, we also have our call centre working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, I know it's been difficult to get through for some travellers. Just to give you a sense of the sheer volume, on average, we normally receive 1,000 calls a day to that call centre. Last Tuesday, we had nearly 15,000, the highest on record. So we've boosted our resources, we've redeployed people to assist in the call centre, and we've tripled our capacity. Yesterday, the call centre answered 99% of calls and helped thousands of British travellers to get the answers that they need. So for those stranded or for families nervously waiting news and wanting to see their loved ones return home, we're doing everything we can. We've improved our advice and boosted the call centre so travellers get better and swifter information. We've put in place this arrangement with the airlines so that we can reach more British citizens in vulnerable circumstances abroad where commercial flights aren't running. And we're working intensively around the clock with all of our partner countries and governments around the world to keep open the airports, the ports, and the flights to bring people home. We've not faced an international challenge quite like this before, but together we're going to rise to it. And of course, here at home, we can all support our NHS by continuing to follow the guidance to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives. And I think I'll now hand over to Patrick Vallance, who will give a presentation on the latest data, and then we'll take some questions after that. So Patrick,
thank you very much. I wanted